Intellectual stew. Intellectual stew with James Kirkland.
Powerful and provocative. Prophetic and practical.
Have you ever found yourself?
Are you dating for that person?
Informative and inspirational.
Every bit of it. Like, I'm not trying to waste my
How you gonna do better if you don't know what better looks like? I do.
Intellectual stew.
Come on, let's talk about it with me, the mind massager.
Intellectual stew with James Kirkland.
Oh, Shucky, what up? What it do? Time for another episode of the Intellectual Stew with yours truly, James Kirkland. I ain't gonna lie, I missed y'all, man. This is the first show of the year. Happy New Year. I hope all things are well with you. I hope your year has started out amazing. I know that mine has. And listen, I'm excited to be back tonight. And we had a wonderful show. Let me get this music off. Y'all have heard enough of me trying to sing. That's enough of that. So let me get this music off. I'm gonna figure that there we go. I'm gonna figure that Instagram thing out after a while. I don't know what y'all. I am suffering from technological ignorance, so I'm not able to stream live on Instagram just yet. But I'm gonna figure that out. I promise you, I am. And when I do, Instagram will be a part of our audience as well. Listen, if you're in the chat right now, do me a favor. Let me know where you're listening from. If you're in Texas, tell me what city you're from. If you're in Arkansas, let me know you're in Little Rock. If you're in Atlanta, wherever you are, say live, and this is where I'm listening from. We're getting ready to get this show started. Just at the end of the year last year, I started a new series. One thing about me, we're very versatile. That's why we call it the Intellectual Stew. A stew consists of several ingredients. When I first started this show, I asked a lot of people, I said, what do you think my strengths are? Because I wanted to talk about things that I thought were relevant. Hello, Missy. Hello, Audrey. I wanted to talk about relevant things that were my strengths, right? So people gave me several topics and ideas that I should try to talk about. So we don't just stay with relationships. We don't do just Bible. We don't just do parenting. We don't just do family. We do what's relevant. And last year, towards the end of the year, I started a new series that I called I entitled it. Let me pull it up right now. I entitled it, I Don't Look Like What I've Been Through. That's what I entitled the series. I Don't Look Like What I've Been Through. And I brought on a special, I had a young lady on at that time by the name of Myra. Myra is a survivor of Hodgkin's lymphoma. God healed her body, and she believes that. And if you see her, she does not look like what she has gone through. And I have a friend, and I don't use the term loosely when I do say friend, but I have a friend by the name of Jason. I'm about to bring Jason in. I met Jason. In fact, let me just go and bring him in. We'll talk about how we met. Come on in, Jason. What's up, my friend? How you doing?
Good, James. How you doing tonight, man?
Man, I'm making it on broken pieces, but I'm going to hold on to the ship. I promise you that, man.
Right. I ain't at the top of the hill yet, but I'm still climbing.
Well, you keep climbing, my friend. Keep climbing. Now, listen. Jason heard my last show of the year. It was entitled, I Don't Look Like What I've Been Through with Myra. And Jason, after hearing it, I was in my hotel room out there. And Jason, we'll talk about how we met in a moment. But I was in my hotel out there in Longview, Texas. And I get a text from Jason about 10 o'clock. You know, that's late for me because I'm on Eastern time. So normally I'm thinking my body's still on Eastern time. So when I see this text comes to about 10 o'clock, probably 11:30, my body time. And it's saying, and I can feel it. He said, man, I'm listening to this podcast. Hey, Coy, and I want to tell my story. And I didn't know which story he wanted to tell because, we met at a car dealership. I go out there every month, to do a sale. What's up, Jackson? Hey, Jackson, what's up, my friend? Missy, Viola, Coy, all of you all. But I go out there and I do this sale every month. And these are my brothers. All these guys, they're in East Texas. They're cool. They see me pull up every month. They give me hugs. We're cool like a fan. And Jason is a very boisterous guy. He's a jokester. He's loud, he's obnoxious. I'm joking, but he's a good guy though. He said he don't care. He said flatter me any way you can. But Jason is a good guy, right? And when he texted me that night and he said I want to tell my story, I think he had told me about it briefly, but he hadn't told me in totality. But I want to ask you to get the conversation started, Jason. What was going through your mind when you heard Myra's story that prompted you to want to tell your story?
Well, it was a great story for one. She went through a lot. It was a great podcast. I loved it. The second thing is right after my daughter had passed away, we went to the church that she attended, and there was a preacher that came there as a guest preacher, and his son had just killed himself within like a month, best I can remember. A lot of the things I say tonight, I can't remember exact dates too, because those first 3-4 months after she passed was really a fog to us.
I bet.
But this preacher, he come to the church and he gave a testimony on his son committing suicide and stuff and talking about it. And I thought to myself, how can anyone who just lost their kid get up here and talk to people? How can you say these things? How do you have that strength? And that's where this originally stemmed from. But then when I heard her talking, I was like, you know what? I need to tell this too. It helps. It heals. It makes me feel better.
Got you. And I want to say this at the beginning. I thank you for trusting me with this story because, like I said, I know it's if you all look on the screen there, you see it says rest in peace, J.C. LeRae.
By the way, there, James, it was 2-6, not 16. I just
my bad. You know what? I know that. I promise I have it like that. That was a fat. That was a fat finger mistake. I'm sorry. I'm about to fix it in just 1 second. While you talking, I promise you'll be fixing. No, it ain't all good. I don't like making mistakes. But anyway, 2-6. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I didn't want it to contradict the story later on when I was talking. People be like, "Wait, that ain't right." So I just
Well, no, we're going to fix that in just a moment. I am getting a little better with technology, so some things I can do. So I will fix that in a minute if you don't. And so I will do that. Listen, everybody in the chat, if you all share this, we can probably double these numbers because this is going to be a good story when you hear, because no parent should ever have to fathom the idea of losing a child. And Jason went through it. And as I said, he called me, he texted me, and he said, I want to tell my story the next day. Because like I told you, I go out there every month to a dealership out there. It's what's the name? Longview Hyundai. I go out there. Hey, what's up, Evan? My buddy. I go out there Evan, that's my dude right there. But Evan, I go out there every month. And like I said, I've created a brotherhood. Evan makes sure I come out every month. Okay, Miss Clayton, great. I go out there Evan makes sure I come out there every month. That's my friend. I don't care if I'm making less money. Making more money to go somewhere else, I'll go there because they're going to bring me every month. And like I said, I've created a brotherhood, so we joke, we laugh, we cry a little bit together. And like I said, when Jason told me he wanted to tell his story, it blew my mind. And I wanted to do him justice. I didn't want to just, go over the story, run it by willy-nilly. I wanted to do his story justice. So that's what we're going to do. So now I want to welcome Jason to the show, and I want to thank him for his bravery and his transparency as it relates to telling this story about JC. And for those who don't know, Jason had to go through what no parent ever wants to go through, and that is the passing of a child. So we've already welcomed him. We've already done a little small talk. So what I want you to do now, Jason, for just a moment, tell us a little bit about JC. Give us her journey. Tell a little bit about her journey, about her story, so we can introduce the audience to who JC is. And I'm gonna try to make this correction that I made, but go ahead, talk to us.
So what I do is I start with when me and her mother, we met, we knew each other 3 months. We were married. We were 5 days away, or we were 5 days past our 19th year anniversary when she passed. But my wife had multiple miscarriages. We don't even know how many miscarriages. There were so many miscarriages. So we quit trying to have babies and was being a married couple, and out of nowhere, my wife gets pregnant, carries full term, baby comes out perfectly healthy, no issues, no nothing. We think great. Well, everything's perfect. Her body just wasn't ready for a child yet, or something about me wasn't ready yet. So she has the baby and she's fine. Nothing in the world wrong with her. Doctors, everything saying she's perfect. So we decided to have another. And we miscarried again. So my wife had her tubes tied and everything, and JC just continues to grow up like nothing's wrong until 3 years old. At 3 years old, she has her first seizure. And I was at work in West Texas, out in the Midland, Odessa area. I'd been working nights. My wife gives me my wife calls my boss at the time, and he comes and wakes me up and tells me that my wife and my daughter are on the side of the road with a seizure, and they're trying to get to the hospital. And so I'm 11, 12 hours away at this point in time, and the worst possible thing in the world going through your head and driving back to home. And anyway, we get there, and she had a seizure, and they start these medicines on her and stuff. And they tell us about how they got to do it like a loading dose, and they got to get her levels up to a certain level to control the seizures. And the first 2 days there, it was like dealing with the meanest drunk you ever met in your life, because they'd give her the medicine, and she'd just scream and holler when she wasn't having a seizure.
Okay.
So she gets, we think we're going to beat this thing. In our mind, we come in.
And how, I'm going to cut you off, but how old is she now?
She's 3 years old.
She's 3 years old. Okay. I don't know if you said that. So I missed it. So she's
so
3 years old.
Yeah, we're thinking, like anything else, well, let's tackle this head on. We're going to beat it. We'll cure this and move on with our life. And obviously that wasn't the case, but we start going to doctor's appointment after doctor's appointment. We were in closing on our house at that point in time, and we had to pull out of escrow. We lost all that money, everything. It took everything we had to get her out of the hospital the first time. Oh, wow. And then just doctor after doctor. And I mean, she could go as simple as a fever, a sinus infection, anything could trigger her seizures to where she would have seizures all day long. And the only thing you could do was medicate her to stop it. And we kept trying different doctors and different specialists and stuff. And we finally take her to this doctor in LSU in Shreveport. And she give us a diagnosis that she would not live to an old age and all this stuff. And we didn't want to hear that. So we never went back to that doctor. We found another doctor. We wasn't giving up yet. We didn't want to hear that. So anyway, she was a perfectly normal child from there on. She was just on medications. And maybe once a month, maybe twice a month, she'd have seizures. We're thinking life's just traveling on along like it's supposed to at this point. She goes wakeboarding, she goes skiing, she goes horseback riding, motorcycle riding, dirt bike, whatever. She lived a normal life, and we did everything in our power to give her a normal life. Never once in our mind did we ever think that she was going to pass away. Never once did we ever consider that as a possibility. And anyway, sorry, I just get emotional. But anyway, we never imagined that she would pass away. And man, sorry.
Okay, that's okay. That's okay. Hey, listen. For those that are listening, we have Jason Clayton on. Jason is a friend of mine from out in East Texas. Jason heard me do I don't look like what I've been through in the past, and he was moved, and he wanted to come on and tell his story. Jason's daughter, J.C. LaRae, she lived from 3/19/04 to February the 6th, 18, just 14, about a few weeks short of her 14th birthday. Whew. And Jason had to, and no parent would ever fathom having to lose a child, right? And he's brave enough, he's transparent enough, he's thought enough of us to come on and share his story, because some of us could be going through the same thing and don't even realize it. Now, I want you to notice something that he said. He said she could have a headache. He said she could have a sinus infection or anything that's a normal sickness to any other child. But Jason said that this could trigger a seizure. Now, watch this. This happened from the time she was 3 years old until the time the rest of her life. So I want to ask you this next question, Jason. I want to ask you this question. How did your family cope with the challenges of her seizures over those years, for those 8-9 years? How did your family cope with those seizures?
Well, fortunately enough, I was always able to provide enough of a living to my wife to not have to work. So she always stayed with her. So she always had a caregiver with her. the main thing that we did is we just knew that if it was a seizure day, and it's stupid that that's a term, but if it was a seizure day, that day was pretty much a wash. Wendy and JC stayed home and took care of her. Low lights, no noise, just keeping her calm and easy through the day until she was through that point of that day. And generally after that first day, as long as you got the antibiotics started on her, she wouldn't seize anymore during that. Let's say it was a cold. As long as you got the penicillin or some medicine going in her or something to combat the cold, after the first day, the seizures would stop. But she could have as many as 20 in a day.
20 in one day?
Yeah, well, she's had up to, I think we counted 24 in one day.
Well, and let me pause right quick too and let you know, you probably can't see the comments right now, but
No.
bro, you got a whole bunch of support. And everybody's saying, God bless you, Jason. God bless you, Jason. I'm so your mother's talking about how she was a selfless, giving child. You have people that are literally praying for you. And I know you say you're not the most religious person. I get all that, but I am. And my crowd is. And we believe in the power of prayer, right? And so for them to pray you through this interview, and because this is healing for you. And I do have a therapist that's going to come on at the end for the last 10 minutes or so. That's going to help provide some clarity for everything. Hey, Kimala, how are you doing? So listen, take your time, tell your story, man. Don't apologize. Please don't do it. Take your time. Everybody in the chat, do me a favor, like this, share this, love this, whatever. Let's help Jason get through this interview. And let's pay because this isn't really what the story part of the story we want to talk about. Yeah, this is just kind of the preliminaries of what we really want to talk about. So let's keep it going. So Jason, in what ways did I know you said that you were able to provide a safe a good enough living for your family, but in what other ways did her condition affect your family's daily life?
Well, I mean, it was just the point that we knew that every time we did something that we had to consider, is this going to set her off? Is this something that she's able to do? We had people tell us, go do Make-A-Wish, go do this, go do that. We never considered that. We just wanted to make it to where she was fine, but we didn't really let it affect our day-to-days because we wanted her to see herself as a normal child. Okay. We wanted her to live a normal life. So we tried our best to never, ever, ever let it affect our normal daily life. If we wanted to go to the lake, load up, we're going to the lake. If she had a seizure while we were at the lake, we did our best to just get her through that day and let her have the easiest day possible because we generally when we went to the lake, we'd take our motor home and stay. I wouldn't make her stay out there on the lake. But anyway, like I say, we would let her stay in the motor home and rest and stuff. And we would generally cancel our actions for the day and just stay inside with her. And then the next day we could continue our process. But we just never let it interfere with what she wanted to do. We let her do everything.
Okay, gotcha. All right, so here we're going to pivot right here, and it's going to be a tough pivot, but I want you. We talked about it earlier, so I want to talk about it now. Tell us about her last day, and when the word you used aspirated, and then the story you told me on the way to the hospital. Tell us about her last day.
Well, just prior to that, probably you don't even know this. On Christmas Day, 2017, before she passed, my dad died in a house fire. And he lost his house, so my mom was living with us. Jesus. And so we'd lost my dad, and then a month and 11 days later, approximately, that morning I get up and get ready to go to the gym. Me and the wife wake up as normal. I get ready to go to the gym. I'm still working in the oil field, and we've got our gym here at the house. So I go outside. My wife gets up and starts making breakfast. Well, normally every morning when we make breakfast, JC would come out of her room, because she'd smell the bacon or something cooking. She'd come out and start visiting with us and stuff. Well, that morning, my wife noticed that JC hadn't come out yet. And she had just checked on her right before she started breakfast. So she goes in there to see what's going on. And just to mention this, also, JC, we had a custom bed ordered for her called a safety sleeper. Okay. And it was something to keep them from falling out of their bed. And I had alarms on it. So if she moved too much in her bed, the alarms would go off. Okay, I was going to ask that. Okay, good. Well, none of the alarms went off. No. And she goes in there to check on her to see what's going on. And she comes screaming out of the house to me because I'm in the gym. She's dead. She's dead. And I'm going, what? And I'm thinking, because my mom had just gotten off shift and come home. And never in my mind is a 13-year-old kid dead. So I'm thinking it's my mom. I scream my wife, my mom? She says, no, JC. And I take off running for the bedroom, run in the house, get into her bedroom. And she's got like, it's like, it's blood and saliva that makes foam. It looks like orange foam coming out of her mouth because she is aspirated. When she started having her seizure, she swallowed her saliva, which was going into her lungs, which was basically drowning her. And then she, because of that and the struggles of drowning, it caused her to have a heart attack. And that's what killed her. The aspiration started, the heart attack killed her. Wow. So I run into the house, and my mom was living here because, as I said, my dad just passed away in a house fire, and she didn't have anywhere to live. And she was a nurse. So she runs in the bedroom with me, and we start CPR. And we got her back one time. She took 2 breaths and then stopped breathing again, and we never got her back. Then the ambulance got here. My wife has to run out to the road because we live way off the road, and we live in the country. So my wife has to go out to the road and leave us inside to do CPR and stuff, not knowing what's going on. So she can flag down the ambulance because they're never going to find our address. And so me and my mom are in there doing CPR. The ambulance finally gets here. They take over. Once they finally get her, they never got her to respond, nothing. They're shocking her. They're doing everything. They never really got her to breathe or anything, I don't think. So they get her into the ambulance. They never stop CPR. They work the entire time on her, all the way to the hospital because we followed them all the way there. And that paramedic never stopped working on her the entire time. Wow. Just as we're about halfway to the hospital, because we live about 30 minutes from it, I look over at my wife, and I just felt this, like, presence pass through me. And I looked over at my wife, and I said, she's gone. She just left. And she said, what? I said, I'm telling you, she's not coming back. I just felt her pass. And she's like, we're both in shock. We don't know what's going on. But I look at her and I say, well, this is the time where everyone's going to be here to support us. Everyone's going to be here. We're going to have a lot of love and support right now. But there's going to come a time when it's going to be just me and you. And we've got to stay strong through this. And we get to the hospital, and they get her in there, and me and her are out in the waiting room because, this is pretty emergency. So we're in the waiting room, and then finally, I guess a couple of minutes, one of them comes out there to get my wife and says, are you JC's mom? She says, yeah, come on back. And I said, whoa, what about me? I'm going too. So we have to go into the operating room and stand in there and finally watch them run an ultrasound on her heart, watch them give her shots, watch them shock her, everything. And basically the doctor's telling me, hey, we'll go as long as you want us to go, but she's not going to live.
Jeez.
She's dead. But it has to be y'all that make the call because they wouldn't stop. So I had to look at my wife and convince her to tell them to stop because all they were doing at this point was breaking her ribs and hurting her more. So I had to look her in the face and convince her to tell them to stop. That's pretty hard to do.
Yeah. Once again, Jason, I want to thank you again for your courage. Like I said, this is the first half of the interview. We're going to make a hard pivot here in a moment. But we're going to make a hard pivot. For those that don't know, I just put it back on the screen. Jason and his wife lost JC LeRae. She was a 13-year-old beautiful young lady that had a tough life. From the time she was 3 years old, she had to endure seizures, as many as 20 a day sometimes. And it affected their family. It did. And then not only that, but as Jason just said, she passed away. And I imagine, Jason, that you must have gone through a wide range of emotions from anger to depression.
Oh, yeah.
confusion, euphoria, disbelief. You go ahead, talk to me. You remember?
Yeah, I mean, there were so many things, but honestly, there's probably 3 or 4 months you don't even really remember all the details. It's just such a blur.
That's what I was going to ask you.
We when we went into the, even at the funeral home, the funeral home people, everybody was so good. The doctors, everybody, even the funeral home person here in town, he basically opened up the funeral home to me and my wife, and we stayed there from morning till dark every day. And he let us leave when we wanted to. Everything. It was one of the hardest things in our life to do, to walk away from him. And we did it every day for multiple days while she laid in that casket. It was hard.
Yeah.
But, yeah, and
so here we are. So here Mr. and Mrs. Clayton are, and they have a void. There's a void now because for 13 years you've had JC, like you said. When she smelled the smell of bacon, she came outside. You know, if an alarm, if the bed started moving too much, an alarm went off. You know, So you've gotten, because we create routines, we create culture, every day is a new habit. Every day, we create our traditions, right? And so now, almost 14 years later, she's no longer with us, and there's a void. And I heard you just say for the first 3 or 4 months, it was kind of a blur. But as you all started to kind of transition, of having to really start to face it, how did you start to feel that void? I know sometimes people will feel that void with alcohol. Sometimes people will feel it with drugs. Sometimes, just depression. How did you feel that void during that time?
Well, first off, part of the reason I say that I'm not what I look like matching up with this podcast so well is, for one, like I say, it was a really, really bad run we had in 2018. So 2017, Christmas Day, my father dies in a house fire. Okay. February 6th, 2018, my daughter passes away from seizure. May 10th, my grandmother finally loses her life to cancer after 3 battles. And then on May 27th, my mother-in-law, finally, we had to take her off the machines because she had a stroke. So we lost 4 people in 6 months there. And they weren't just cousins and whatever down the road. It was moms, grandmas, daughters, and fathers that we lost. So it was a really, really, really rough 2018. But so I drowned myself in beer, nothing but beer. I stayed drunk, blackout drunk for almost 6 months. But the reason that it took so long to get over it is because death kept happening to us. It kept happening to us. We couldn't heal from one before another one would happen. So it was just so much. But we drank every day, as much as we could drink.
So y'all drank together?
Yes.
Okay.
That was one thing we did, is we drank and just drank and rode back roads and listened to country music.
Gotcha.
Halftime, don't know how I got home. I was on a bad path to do the wrong thing.
Okay, so that's an interesting paradigm. So since you all were drinking together, and having experienced the loss together, how was it affecting the bond that you all had in your marriage?
Well, we weren't bonding really. We were just drinking together. We weren't dealing with what was going on.
Self-medicated.
Yep. Yeah, we weren't dealing with what was really going on. We were trying to ignore that.
Okay.
And just drink.
So you were escaping reality.
Yes.
For the most part.
Very much so.
So how long would you say did you all go through that period where you all were escaping the reality?
It was about 6 months. It was about 6 months. And I finally decided that I wanted to change the course we were on, and that this wasn't where I wanted to be. If she was alive, she wouldn't want us sitting around being drunk every day. We did all kinds of things when she was alive. So I got out and started doing it again. I started doing projects around the house. I like to.
Consumer Reports published a study showing 95% of supplements on the market are contaminated and contain magnesium stearate, which decreases absorption and increases a toxic material in the body, which has a lot of pesticides in it. Many companies are labeling it as a vegetable steroid. Central Silver has at least 3 dyes that are listed on the National Cancer List as a potential carcinogenic. Most of the minerals in it are in the form of oxides. oxidize the body. That means they rust the body out. At Immune Wellness Pharmacy, you will receive supplements that are dispensed in glass bottles. They're vegetable capsules with no additives, no dyes, no fillers, no preservatives, no magnesium stearate. To know your body is absorbing the nutrients it needs, shop Immune Wellness Pharmacy. That's pharmacy with an F. Go to immunewellnesspharmacy.com to shop now. Immune Wellness Pharmacy, restoring optimal function to the human body.
Forge. I like to work on vehicles, so I got out and started doing that again. But my wife was still way behind me on that part. She wasn't ready yet.
That's where I was going to go next. So you started to turn the corner.
Yes.
But your wife was still kind of still stuck
Very
in that
depressed.
state.
Very depressed.
Okay. So in what ways did you find effective when it came to supporting your wife through her struggles with depression?
Man, being attentive, being there. That's the number one thing you can do for someone in depression. And when they say they really need. When they need your assistance, your presence, it's different when they're struggling with that kind of depression. You have to step aside and say, okay, I'm here. What can I do now? And I basically had become everything for her. And I still am. I bend over backwards to take care of that woman. I do everything in my power to make her happy.
Everything in power.
We was, I guess at some point, probably around that 6-month mark, I remember being outside working on something. And we had lost all intimacy. We had lost just about any part of love. We were just together. We were just, for lack of better terms, we were just roommates. We were trying to get through something, and we didn't know how. We didn't have any professional help, and we wasn't seeking any professional help. We just thought we could handle it on our own. And I slowly but surely started getting her out and getting her to do more, getting her to come out more and spend time with me in the shop, if nothing else, because she didn't want to go anywhere. And when she lost her mother in May of 27, that May 27th of 18, that really sent her into a spiral because she didn't have anybody to talk to then.
Okay.
And because her father was already gone too. So she didn't really have any parent to support her. Yeah. And that put a little bit more on me. So I had to do a little bit more then. And it's just one of those things where I looked at her one day and I said, we have got to find a way to still be a married couple. We've got to figure out how to still love each other. Even though all this horrible stuff has happened to us, we've still got to love each other. And
man,
be together.
Bro, you say, you're not religious and all that, and I get it. But, it's funny how still God sees the end long before the beginning. While you were in that car riding behind the ambulance, you prepared her by saying, it's just me and you. It's going to be a time everybody else leaves, and then it's going to be me and you. I want to commend you for being the man of your house, for being the man in your relationship, for being somebody for your wife to submit to, because I think, people get marriage wrong so much. We think it's 100, but it really isn't. It's not 50-50. It's not, it's whatever it takes. Some days, she might only have 10 and you got to have 90. Some
That's
days,
right.
that she might not have anything and you got to have all 100 and you got to be cool with that. Right. But you got so many people that are looking for a fair exchange in a relationship. But how do you have fair exchange when your partner doesn't have anything else to give? How do you have, why do you start practicing point the finger right or saying you're not pulling my weight, you're not pulling your weight, or you're not pulling your share? And I commend you for being so. And your mom is on here and she's talking so proud. She's so proud of you. She's saying you're a great man, great husband, and all those things. And I appreciate that, man, because I've gotten to know you a little bit, like I said, and you're a jokester. We play a lot around it, and he processes life fast. He processes it quick because he's been through some things in his life, right? And he's shared some of those things with me. And sometimes Jason don't have a filter. Jason will just say it, right? It'll just come out. But to hear the soft side of Jason, and to say and to realize and recognize that your wife is going through depression and then minister to her depression. That's just like a lot of men when their wives or their significant, I want to say wives because I like to deal in relationships like that. But if they're going through postpartum, you know, their whole body just went through a major life change. A whole human just came out of them. And sometimes it takes some time to get over that. And we as men, bro, we got to be sensitive enough to our spouses to help get them through those mental, lapses, because they can come back from it with the proper support. How long did it take, or has it happened yet? How long did it take before your wife started to turn that corner?
It hadn't.
Okay.
It hadn't. We're still there. I mean, but we're learning to deal with it. She's finally getting help. We're finally getting help. So that we're there at the turning point to get the help now.
Yes. So So if you had to do over, would you have gotten therapy sooner?
I never pushed her into therapy. I've always asked her if she was ready, would she go? Because for one, she doesn't believe you should ever talk about this because it hurts too much. Okay. And me, on the other hand, I think that it should be talked about because I never spoke about it for basically 2 years. And then when I started working at the dealership, people would ask me randomly, "Hey, you got any kids?" It's just conversation when you're talking to a customer. You got kids? Well, what do you say to that answer when that's your only child? I mean, so for the longest, all I'd say is yeah, and I just cut it short there, and I wouldn't say nothing. And then I started saying a little bit more and a little bit more, and it got easier, and it got easier to deal with, and it got easier to talk about. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to keep talking about it. I'm going to keep talking about it, and I'm going to say what I think, and I'm going to say it. But with my wife, she doesn't want it brought up because it's a scab she's not ready to rip off yet.
Wow. Jarvis can relate because Jarvis also went through something similar. We pray for Jarvis. He lost his child as well, for a different reason, but in a different way. But still, he lost a child, and he says for the rest of your life you will witness others' children survive conditions which were worse than your own child's, and wonder why did they make it and not mine. Wow. Jeez.
Now, just that's a strong statement too. But the rest of your life, you're going to hear about kids getting molested. You're going to hear about kids getting mistreated by their parents or neglected and stuff like that. And you're going to think, why? I gave my child everything. I was a great parent. Why don't I get to keep mine? So there is not just the watching the other kids. It's watching the lucky kids. It's watching the unfortunate kids get mistreated and no one there to take care of them. And then I had a child that had parents that wanted to take care of them, and they took our child away. So that's part of it too.
I don't get speechless. Yeah, I don't get speechless often, but I'm glad I wrote down some notes because I promise. Yeah. So how have you managed to maintain open communication with your wife about her emotions and her mental health?
The main thing with her is I have to shut off and be completely attentive because she won't tell me. She won't tell me when she's getting down. I have to play off the keys because she doesn't want to burden me because she feels like if she burdens me, I'm doing so well. Why put it back on me?
When you say play off the keys, what type of keys do you reckon?
Like when she gets silent, when she gets short with me, when she wants to sleep 10 hours, 12 hours a day, and instead of getting up and going and doing and stuff like that, I have to pay attention to those things and say, hey, baby, what's going on? What do we need to talk about? What can we work through today? What's going on? And just start pulling it out of her. And usually I get attacked at first, and then I have to calm her down and say, hey, I'm on your side. I'm your husband. I'm on your side, babe. And then we talk through it from that point. But it has to be one of those things where she doesn't want to put it on me, so I have to pay attention to her signs and her keys. And when I see those keys, I've had to learn to navigate the path to support her the best way I can. Whether that's, hey, let's turn TV off and just talk for a while. Let's go on the back porch and cook dinner and spend time together. Hey, let's go out and get a drink together. Hey, let's go to the movies. Hey, let's go camping. Whatever you want to do. But take her out of this environment and put her into a different environment to where she can clear her mind and just enjoy herself.
Wow. Hey, boy, you're giving a clinic on how to be a husband or how to be a support system to somebody that's going through right now.
For somebody who
No,
don't know nothing about
yeah,
it.
but hey, listen, like I just told you earlier, God knows the end way before the beginning, man. He put stuff inside of us that we never even knew. It's funny, man. I'm gonna use an analogy, but I'm sure you can catch it. It's interesting to me how God allows some people to walk on what drowns everybody else. You know what I'm saying? You pick up. Go ahead.
We could have easily gave in, and this marriage could easily be over because this ain't been easy. This has been very, very hard. Very hard. But we're 6 years now.
I got a question though, bro. What? I have a real question. Real question, and I want you to be honest. I mean, this is James. Act like it's just me and you talking right now. Nobody else is listening. I got a question for you. How do you provide support? How do you balance providing support while taking care of your own mental? Who's taking care of Jason?
Nobody. You just got to be strong. You got to be. I just felt like, well,
okay, that's what it is.
I'm not healed. I'm not healed in any way. I still got a lot of things going on. I probably always will have a lot of things going on. So I'm not healed by any means. I'm still struggling also, but I tell my wife, and I tell people at work, I tell everybody, you get one thing you get to choose each day, and that's your attitude. And I wake up every day and try to choose to be happy. Okay. Because I don't get to be happy. I have to choose it. And that right there is the only thing I can do. I try to shed everything with laughter. I try to shed everything through jokes and just deal with what's going on and handle it on my own the best I can handle it. Now, there are times when my wife sits down with me and we talk at night and we cry together, talk together, go through whatever together. And those times happen and she's there for me then. But for the most part, I handle it on my own. And I talk to them. Well, I tell my story to people who ask, and or not all of it, but I'll tell them a little bit of it, and it makes me feel a little better, and it lets a little release out.
Yeah, that's good, man. That's my only concern is that, like I said, is that we all have a breaking point ourselves, right? And I know, and sometimes the bully would laugh to keep with the bully, or the person that was being bullied would tell jokes to keep people off of them. You understand what I'm saying? Or if they're hurting, they'll mask it by laughter. You know what I'm saying? And I know you need an outlet as well, because at some point, it's almost like spontaneous combustion. You know what I'm saying? You got something that needs to get off, and you're strong for everybody else. And I commend you, man. You, like I said, any man that's listening tonight you've learned a lot about how to support your spouse. And not only a man, but any woman, you're learning how to support your spouse even through the tough times, right? Because everything, and we can all talk about tough times, because we get mad and want to leave somebody because these bills aren't paid on time, or or infidelity or some other things. But Jason and his wife have literally had to endure the death of a child. And he stood up in that. He said they had he said that they had to go through their little thing where they drank for a season, because remember, whenever there's a time that whenever there's a void, let me put it like that, whenever there's a void in your life, most of us are going to try to fill that void with something, right? It's best to be able to put a flower in that void, right? Because we want to put something pretty there, right? But sometimes we put trash in those holes. You said you put alcohol in your hole for a long time, and that was an issue. But like I said, you said that you knew that your daughter wouldn't want y'all to live like that. And so that was enough to make y'all start wanting to shift towards another direction, right?
Yes. I mean, if I was outside, my daughter was outside. If I was home from work, my daughter was with me 24/7. We did everything together. So to just sit in the house and stay drunk, I knew we couldn't do it anymore. I knew we couldn't. We had to get out, and we had to start seeing the world and facing the world. That's what it really was. We had to go out and face the public, because the problem is there's a, it's stupid that there's shame in losing your child, but there's a lot of shame that comes with it too. And having to face people in your town that you knew and listen to them say, "Oh, I'm so sorry for your loss." Sometimes it feels like they're saying, "You're a shitty parent," and or it just feels like that sometimes. So it took a while to just want to go out and face the public, and it's just there's so many complicated levels to it that there's no one pointing a finger at anything or like that or whatever. It's just there was just
Take your time.
just just trying to get out of the house and get around people and then what happens if you burst into tears like this out in public? People looking at you like you're crazy.
Who
People
cares?
judging you.
Who cares?
Not everybody knows what's going on. So it was hard to go back out and look people in the face again.
I got you. Well, let me tell you something, my friend. You have looked several people in the face tonight, and you have sat here and you've eloquently told your story. And I believe that there were some people who were helped by your story, and I appreciate you for doing so. What I want to do now is I want to invite somebody else into the conversation.
Okay.
He's a therapist. He's a therapist by trade, by training.
Okay.
So I want him to assess what he's heard tonight, and hopefully, because I'm gonna be honest with you, when I get off of these shows, Missy, Coy, Mary, I have to process these truths. And sometimes I have to sit here for 10 or 15 minutes because of what I've just processed, right? And sometimes I need to know what to do with these feelings. So I'm going to bring in Dr. Rayfield Evans. He's a pastor in Columbus, Mississippi. But I'm going to bring him in, and I want him to share with us what he's heard, and then we'll go further in the conversation in just a moment, okay? So let me bring him on in right now. Dr. Evans, how you doing, my friend?
Doing well, my brother. How are you?
All right,
Nice
this is
Dr.
Jason.
Evans.
This is Jason right here. Jason, and his wife lost their child, their only child, after having miscarriages and all of these things. He shared his grief journey, talked about. And did you get a chance to listen to a lot of what we were saying?
Yes.
Okay, good. So I don't have to give you a recap then. Okay, good.
Yes.
So tell us, based on what you've heard, what are you saying?
Well, first of all, again, thank you, James, for allowing me to just be a part of this on tonight. Thank you, Jason, for your courage and also for your candor. You've helped someone tonight, either who has faced the same thing of the loss of a child, or you have helped someone be prepared who is looking at the same thing. You know, there are times that major illnesses do just what they do. They are the cause for our loved ones to no longer be with us. So you have done a great work, and I appreciate what you've done on tonight. Probably the first thing I want to talk about is just the courage to tell your story. Part of the healing process from anything that's traumatic, anything that is hurtful, is simply being able to talk about it.
Yep.
You know, and I've been with families since I pastor who have not been able to talk about it for an extended time, meaning you could not bring up their loved one's name. There was no fun memories that they talked about. But then there were other families who could celebrate the life and talk about all of the memories that they had. Even though you and your wife chose not to do counseling when it first happened, the one thing that you all did right was stay together. Even if you said that all we did was just drink, you did it together. What happens with most families, Jason, is that, especially couples, is that there will be an emotional separation and also a physical separation. And I'm getting emotional just thinking about what you have experienced. But now the thing that you all did, you all stayed together. You know, grieving is such an individualized thing. And so most times, people don't grieve the same. So the husband may grieve one way, the wife may grieve that way, other family members may grieve one way, but now they never come together and grieve together. That's the thing that causes divorces after a tragic loss. But what y'all did it together.
I knew I'd been through loss as a child also, so I knew that there would come low points. And that ride to the hospital that morning,
Yeah.
I knew the most important thing was we had to stick this together. We had to do this together because no one else was going to understand how bad we were hurt.
No, no. The only people who would have an inkling are the people who have experienced the same type of loss. And then loss is different for everyone. You know, but now you all were able to stay together, and I wrote down some notes. And one of the things that probably assisted you was being able to minister to your wife.
Absolutely.
And see, here's to tell you something about my background. I had a marriage that ended after 30 years. If I would have had your skills, you know, to minister to my soon-to-be ex-wife, things would have been totally different. But at the time, I didn't have the skills that you had, Jason. So I do.
I don't know where I got them from. It was just dumb luck that happened on me.
Oh, look, one Jason, one nothing lucky about that. That was just God giving us oversight, giving us direction, even when we don't ask Him to give it. Even when we don't ask to give it. So looking at the process of grieving, part of your healing and the reason that you are where you are is because number one, you focus on someone else. You made your wife your focus.
That's good.
And I have been with individuals who have been going through what they're going through, and they only focus on the problem. You know, I've sat with men who's lost their families, going through the holidays, and not being able to focus on anything but their own loss. But now, let's say that was Thanksgiving, Christmas time, they volunteered for shelters. They thought about something that was bigger than them. You focus on your wife, and it allowed your healing process to begin.
That's good.
You're hurting just like your wife is hurting, but now because you focus on someone else, you allow God to just allow you to begin the healing process. And remember, these things happen not when we evoke His name, not when we call on Him.
Preach, sir.
But simply from the truth that He loves you and He cares for you. So He's been there all the time. Marriage is never 50-50. You know, and you have given what you needed to give to your wife during this time of grief.
Wow.
Grieving is a process. And there's all types of models, you know, and most people would say that nothing is in this neat little order. But we can go throughout the gamut, and I'm sure you've heard stage 1, the denial, stage 2, the dealing with the anger, stage 3, bargaining, stage 4, depression, and then stage 5, you finally have an acceptance of what has happened. And look, you may go from stage 1 to stage 3.
Yeah.
You may go from stage 3
and go right back to 1 again.
back to stage 1. But now the idea is that grieving period should be just what it is. One of the stories in the Bible is that King David had a child who died. King David took to the sackcloth and ashes, and when they came and told him that his child had died, he got up, he washed himself, and he ate some food. What we have to be careful with, Jason, is to make sure that we don't grieve for the rest of our lives while life continues to pass.
Right.
You and your wife still have years to enjoy together. You went through a 6-month period of losing 4 family members, but you didn't lose all your family members.
Right.
You know, so look, time with family, time with your wife, all those things have to be re-engaged, even though you may feel like remaining disengaged. People will pry, people will ask questions, and sometimes, Jason, people will just be kind and want to know.
Yep.
You know, and I know that during this time, you've had to contend with all of that. But understand this. The power of God says that we can even heal from loss and heal from hurt. So, brother, that is my prayer and desire for you. It's good that your wife is now receiving counseling. You know, she may need this now. I'm talking counselor talk now. She may need some type of antidepressant for a while.
Well, she's not actually seeking counsel yet. She's actually starting to see the doctor. She's starting to take the antidepressant. She has not taken anything up to this point until about 6 months ago. So for 5 years, she was just trying to deal with it on her own.
Yeah, in the antidepressant, the one thing about the antidepressant, it would help elevate her mood.
Yeah.
But at the same
time, now she's actually starting to talk about counseling. Okay. She wouldn't even talk about it prior to the medication.
That's it. It is the process where she has to engage. And you said it right. No one can make another person go to counseling. Just like no one can make someone stop drinking or stop drugging. They have to
make a choice.
Right. They have to. And I'm so glad that you didn't force her. You didn't push her, but now you kept it as an option.
That's good.
So look, my only desire is to just pray with you, pray for you. Oh man. And and like I said, just the fact that you all are still together.
Lord have mercy.
What I call us, the term I use for us to get her out and get her going is we are unfortunate empty nesters and we're going to live our life.
And look, look, you said it all right there. Didn't want to be in this situation. So a greater power allowed this to be. So now the thing is to regroup, to regather, and to continue the journey as husband and wife.
Yes, sir.
Lakeisha said, "Ride till the wheels fall off."
That's right.
Ride to the wheels. Hey, listen. If any, we're going to close. The show is over. I'm done. I've processed enough truth. Jason is good. We're going to get you back on.
I appreciate you having me on. I appreciate
No, you're going to be on to contribute on some other conversations because we're going to diversify a little bit more. And it's time to do some. We had a good conversation while I was in town, and Jackson and Hudson and I had a good conversation. We're going to look into going and doing that too. But this has been what's up, Taylor, man? Those are my brothers, man. Taylor, Evan, Jackson, these guys, man. I've gotten to know these fellows. I got to know them 4 years ago, but I got to know them in a closer way in the last 8 to 9 months. And these are my dudes, man. Like I told you, I'm driving out there next week. Nowhere else will I drive 9-10 hours. But for these guys, I drive or fly or whatever I do because they're my dudes. Listen, if you want to support the platform, I'm going to put the Cash App up. You can do that. You can do that. Intellectual Stew JK2. You feel free to support the platform. It helps us to expand what we are trying to do. You see, the Intellectual Stew, like I told y'all, it consists of 7. I do relationship. I do a bunch of stuff, but I do things that I think are impactful, and do things that I think that are relevant. And I knew that Jason was going to have a story to tell, and I knew it was going to be a lot of truths to process, and I knew they were going to be heavy. So I needed clarification. So I wanted to bring on Dr. Evans, and Dr. Evans, Dr. Evans probably has about 120, 130 counselors in the state of Mississippi that work under him. So he's trained in that area. And plus he pastors a church. So I wanted to bring him on. And Jason, I hope what he said has helped. I hope you can replay this for your wife if she's not listening. And
she wouldn't listen.
She can listen in her own time now. She can listen in her own time. Yep. She can press pause. She can press play. She can press stop. Yeah, she can because it's going. I would definitely put this one on Spotify and Apple Podcasts to make sure that she can have access to it. But Mom, Miss Mary, I appreciate you for listening and supporting your son tonight. Those of you all that are in East Texas, those of you all that are in Louisiana, hey, my people, Taylor, Jackson, all of you guys, man, I appreciate you all for tapping in. Jason, Myra's the one that didn't look like she was going through. She just said, thank you for sharing. God bless you and your family. She's going through something major. And she's taking her situation and uses it to minister to people that are going through the same thing. If you go on her Facebook page, all she's talking about, this beautiful lady here is dealing with a heart just had a heart transplant. She's ministry. God to take your ashes, man, and turn your beauty into ashes, bro. I'm telling you, he will. He will do it. He will do it. It's all a matter of perception, man. And so that's why I'm thankful that I had Dr. Ray come on. I'm gonna do something that I don't do all the time, but I feel compelled to do tonight. Dr. Ray, will you pray us out?
Yes.
And then I'm gonna do my final goodbyes. He's gonna pray us out, Jason. I'm gonna do my little final commercials, and then we're gone. But go. I don't have a hat on. Okay, good. Go ahead. Go ahead, Dr. Ray.
Let us pray. Father God, we come, Lord, in the name of Jesus. We're lifting up the Clayton family to you right now, Lord. Jason and his wife. We ask, Lord, for your continued healing, for your continued guidance, Lord. And Father God, we pray for full restoration, Lord. Even in the absence of their daughter, you can make them whole. You can make them complete again, Lord. So we ask that you touch right now in the name of Jesus. Uplift them and hold them in your mighty right hand, Lord. Give them your peace, your joy, Lord, and allow them to feel your burning love for them. We just say thank you right now for their lives. Thank you for their testimony. And thank you, Lord, for what you're doing through them right now. Thank you. In the name of Jesus, we do pray. Amen. And thank God.
Amen. We call that done. We call it done. Listen, y'all check out the website, theintellectualstew.com. If you want any merchandise, feel free to go there. Dr. Ray, I appreciate you. Jason, I appreciate you.
Thank you, Doctor.
I'm about to take us on out. I'm gonna leave I'm gonna let it play for a couple of minutes because I got a couple of commercials I want to share. You can hear those in your own time. But Jason, once again, thank you. I appreciate you, bro. I appreciate you.
Thank you for the time.
Let your wife know that she has a whole nation of people. It's called Stew Nation, and we praying for her, man. And and prayerfully, whenever she's ready, if she ever wants to come on, she can come on, bro, and sit right beside you on that couch. You know,
yes,
and just as you have an open invitation to come on my platform, and I appreciate it. Can I ask you one more question?
Yeah.
Why did you choose me?
Because you talked about everything.
Okay.
Not just one thing.
Okay. Thank you. Y'all be good. Hey, we're out. Hey, remember, I got one thing I always say to y'all. The world is changing. My question for you is, why do you remain the same? Y'all have a good night, and we'll talk to you later.
Bye-bye.
Hey, let's change the world together. Get your The World is Changing tea at www.theintellectualstew.com.
Listen, friends, I was stuck in a state of stagnation. I was depressed after a divorce. I was marinating in my misery, didn't want to do anything, didn't want to work, didn't want to go anywhere. I just wanted to stay where I was. But then all of a sudden I had an epiphany, and I realized that where I was not where I was supposed to be. So I made an adjustment. And you know what I did? I got on the path to better. You know why? Because I realized that better existed. And you know what I want to do? I want to invite you to join me on the path to better. Get your On the Path to Better t-shirt at www.theintellectualstew.com. Will you join me on the path to better?